Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking a seriously fascinating paradox in the food industry. We're going to figure out why a simple $50 algorithm can sometimes completely obliterate a veteran cook's gut instinct, but at the exact same time, why throwing shiny, incredibly expensive AI at a problem is almost never the magic bullet you think it is. It's a wild ride, so let's just dive right into it.
Let me throw a massive number at you. $162 billion. That is exactly what U.S. restaurants collectively waste in food costs every single year. Let that sink in. But here's the crazy part. The main culprit behind this financial sinkhole isn't rotting food forgotten in the back of a walk-in fridge, and it's not super generous portion sizes either. The primary driver of all this waste is actually just prepping for a normal day, when real-world conditions are, well, anything but normal.
Picture this, right? Let's look at what that waste actually feels like on the ground. Imagine it's 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. An Austin food truck operator is prepping 80 pounds of chicken for what's supposed to be a sunny 70-degree lunch rush. Awesome. But by 10 a.m., an unpredicted cold front rolls in out of nowhere. Rain starts pouring at 11:15. By noon, the line that usually wraps all the way around the block has exactly 2 people standing in it. So by sundown, that operator is tossing roughly $750 worth of perfectly marinated protein straight into the trash. Which leads us to Section 1, the unforgiving guess and the instinct trap. Look. Throwing away $750 of food isn't because an operator is lazy. Not at all. It is literally the default setting for a fast-paced industry that essentially runs on sheer instinct. The root of the whole problem is that our human brains are honestly just terrible at predicting demand when external variables start shifting. We naturally anchor to our absolute best days, like we all remember that incredible record-breaking Saturday, and our brains completely block out the statistical reality of those 3 mediocre, totally average Wednesdays. We prep for the massive crowd we desperately hope shows up, not the average crowd that actually will. And this little memory trap is completely devastating when you look at the raw math. An average food truck brings in about $346,000 a year. Sounds great, right? But with margins hovering around a razor-thin 6.2%, they're taking home barely $21,000 in actual profit. When you lose $2,000 just to routine spoilage, there is absolutely zero safety net. I mean, literally 3 or 4 bad guesses about the weather can entirely erase a full month of hard-earned profit.
So how do we fix it? That brings us to Section 2, Spreadsheets Beating AI.
Now, you would naturally expect this to be the part of the explainer where a shiny new AI tool swoops in from Silicon Valley and saves the day, right? Well, a small Minnesota shop called Que Bracho Empanadas, who do about 200 orders a week, totally proved the tech industry wrong. They tested complex, heavy-duty statistical models, things like ARIMA and profit, right against the owner's gut feeling. And the twist? The AI totally failed. Because they only had 12 weeks of sales data to train on, the advanced models just choked. The ultimate winner was actually a stripped-down, basic spreadsheet using just 3 variables: day-of-week median, the weather, and local events. That simple little sheet absolutely crushed the heavy-duty AI.
So the crucial takeaway here is not that AI is some giant scam, it's just that heavy-duty enterprise machine learning models are basically like hungry engines. They will simply starve if they don't have at least 18 full months of historical data to chew on. And most small restaurants change up their seasonal menus or move locations way too often, meaning they just do not have that deep well of data. For them, that 3-variable spreadsheet is, mathematically speaking, the absolute best tool available.
Let's shift gears a bit. Section 3, the power of scale.
What actually happens when a business does have that massive volume of data to feed the algorithm? Well, the entire equation flips. When the London-based bubble tea chain Cup plugged their multi-location, multi-month transaction history into an AI forecasting platform called Nory, they watched their food waste completely plummet by an unbelievable 60%. It turns out, when you give the algorithms enough data, they really do start to earn their keep.
Operating at this massive scale lets AI catch these tiny, granular details that humans would just completely miss. Here's a great example. A Turkish takeaway chain called Gomiza used this exact same platform and realized that their customers were consistently removing tomatoes from their orders. The AI flagged it immediately, the kitchen just stopped automatically adding tomatoes, and boom, they saved 1.6 tons of tomatoes. That tiny, practically invisible adjustment saved the chain roughly 1,000 pounds every single month.
And those compounding returns? They're massive. Nory AI clients consistently report a 20% reduction in operating costs, on top of saving over 100 hours in admin time every month. Think about it. For a restaurant spending $15,000 a month on food, that is $3,000 put directly back into the budget, month after month. At the enterprise scale, this kind of AI practically pays for itself.
All right, finally, let's look at Section 4, the WhatsApp solution. Let's bring it back down to the little guy for a second, because even if a single food truck somehow magically had 18 months of perfect data, there is one fundamental barrier to tech adoption that has literally nothing to do with algorithms. It's context. A food truck operator is never, ever going to adopt an enterprise analytics dashboard because of their daily workflow. I mean, they have 5 a.m. start times. They're elbow deep in raw prep work. They have maybe a 10-minute window between pouring a cup of coffee and firing up the grill. They have zero time to sit down at a laptop.
Recognizing this incredibly chaotic, hyper-fast workflow, a system called Udo took a brilliantly, completely different approach. They run all those heavy-duty demand models in the background, but they totally skip the fancy dashboard. Instead, they deliver the final calculated AI recommendation to the one single place the operator is actually guaranteed to look at 5 a.m., directly to their text messages on WhatsApp.
So instead of trying to read a complex, multicolored graph on a tiny screen, they get a message that just says, Tuesday, rain expected by 11. Cut chicken prep by 30%. You will thank yourself at 3 p.m. It is highly actionable, bite-sized, and it pops up right next to text messages from their produce supplier. It turns out the winning tech tool isn't the one with the most beautiful charts. It's the one that seamlessly fits into the user's actual life and delivers the exact instruction they need exactly when they need it.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a question for you. Think about your own daily work, your specific industry, and your routines. Are you constantly reaching for some overly complex, over-engineered enterprise AI tool when a basic spreadsheet or maybe even a simple automated text message would actually solve your problem faster? Because sometimes the smartest technology out there isn't the most advanced one. It's just the one that actually understands how you work. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really hope this sparks some new ideas for your own workflows. Catch you next time.